Welcome to our tutorial on Python context managers and the with statement. First, we'll dive into what context managers are in Python. Then, I'll explain how the with statement works and why it's so useful for managing resources like files or network connections. Next up, you'll learn how to create your own custom context managers using and methods. We'll explore common use cases where context managers can make your code cleaner and safer. Finally, I'll share some best practices and tips to ensure you get the most out of these powerful tools. At the end, we'll wrap things up with a summary and open the floor for any questions you might have. Hello everyone, welcome back to our Python tutorial series. Today, we're diving into an essential concept that will make your code cleaner and safer: context managers. Context managers allow you to manage resources like a pro by ensuring they are properly handled, even in the face of exceptions. You can use them with the with statement for tasks such as file operations or database connections. For example, when working with files, using a context manager ensures that your file is automatically closed once you're done, no matter what happens inside the block. This makes your code more robust and easier to maintain. So let's explore how we can use this powerful tool in our Python projects. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into an essential concept in Python programming: the with statement. This handy tool ensures that resources are properly managed by automatically calling and methods at specific points. The beauty of with is that it guarantees these methods will always run, no matter what happens inside your block, even if an exception occurs. Let's take a simple example: opening a file to read its contents. Normally, you'd open the file, then close it afterward. But with the with statement, it's as easy as writing. This automatically takes care of closing the file even if an error occurs, making your code cleaner and less prone to common mistakes like forgetting to close a file or database connection. Plus, this approach makes your code easier to read and maintain. So next time you're dealing with resources that need careful management, remember the with statement. It's a lifesaver. Alright, let's dive into our basic example of file handling in Python. You see, we're using something called a context manager with the statement. This is super useful because it automatically takes care of closing the file once we're done reading from it. Here's how it works. We open example.txt in read mode and assign it to the variable. Then, inside the block, we use to get all the content at once, which we store in. Finally, we print out that content. The beauty of using is that even if an error occurs while reading the file, Python will still make sure it gets closed properly. This not only saves you from manually closing files, but also helps prevent potential errors. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into creating custom context managers in Python. These are like magical portals that automatically manage resources for us. Think of them as a pair of invisible gloves that handle things like locks or database connections seamlessly. The key to making these is understanding two special methods. And when you enter the with block, does its magic. When you exit, no matter how it happens, whether smoothly or with a bang, it's that takes care of things. This setup is super useful for keeping our code clean and efficient, especially in scenarios where managing resources can get tricky. Let's see some examples on the next slide to really drive this home. Welcome to our next slide on creating custom context managers in Python, specifically for handling file locks. We're looking at an example where we've created a class that uses the object to ensure exclusive access to a file. When we enter this context using the statement, it acquires the lock and opens our file example.txt in write mode. The method releases the lock and closes the file if no exceptions were raised during the block of code within the statement. This ensures that we properly manage both locking and unlocking, even if an error occurs. Hello there, fellow coders. Today, we're diving into an essential topic in Python programming: context managers. These are super useful for ensuring that resources like files and database connections are properly managed and cleaned up. For example, when you open a file to read or write data, using a context manager ensures the file gets closed automatically after you're done. No more worrying about forgetting to close it. Similarly, in databases, context managers can help manage transactions safely, ensuring any changes are committed or rolled back correctly. They also come in handy for managing locks when dealing with concurrent access, and even for temporarily changing an object state without affecting the rest of your code. Plus, they handle errors gracefully and clean up resources efficiently. So let's explore how to use these powerful tools effectively in Python. Welcome to our tutorial on best practices for using context managers in Python. Let's dive into some key points you should always follow. First, whenever you need to manage resources like files or database connections, use the with statement. It ensures proper cleanup even if errors occur. Second, make sure your custom context manager has both and methods implemented correctly. The method initializes the resource while handles cleanup. Third, keep each context manager focused on a single task or resource to avoid complexity. Use exceptions for cleanup, but handle them carefully to prevent unexpected behavior. Finally, always document your custom context managers clearly so others can understand their purpose and usage easily. Alright, let's wrap up this session on Python context managers. They're like a magic wand for managing resources efficiently. Just by using the with statement, you can automatically handle things like opening and closing files or connecting to databases, all without worrying about forgetting to close them. And if you want to get really fancy, you can create your own context managers with and methods. This is super useful for tasks like locking mechanisms too. Remember, always follow best practices to ensure your code is clean and safe. Using context managers not only makes your code look neat, but also keeps it easy to maintain. So, next time you're working with resources that need careful handling, think with